Welcome to another Discover SRQ video podcast. My name is Marius Mokan. I'm a local realtor here in the Sarasota area. In this episode, my business partner Dan Henson and I are sitting down with Ann and Brian from Currencies Direct. They specialize in foreign currency exchange. This is going to be a long episode, but there's a lot to unpack here, so please be sure to stick around to the end.
Here today.
Thank you for having us
today.
And I'm Anne Schneider, or Anne Schneider in German, working as a rep for Currencies Direct in business development, and I'm in Sarasota and take care of all the needs that happen related to foreign exchange.
Here in Sarasota?
Brian Bernal with Currencies Direct. But yes, in Orlando is where I live.
Awesome.
Yeah.
How long you been there?
I was actually born in Orlando. Oh. I've lived in various places throughout the U.S., and then recently in 2017 moved back to Orlando. But it's almost like one of those things where you are, home, doing a lot of traveling and whatnot. Home seems to be a lot of places.
Yeah, that's true too.
But,
so you're always traveling over.
A little less, since COVID and things like that, and the world kind of adapt. The technology a little faster, or I guess we had to in terms of Zoom and a lot of other things. So a lot less travel, but it used to be pretty hectic.
Yeah, I think it's definitely forced technology across the board to everything. AI popped up out of nowhere. It was always working, but all of a sudden that's in our face, right? Mm-hmm. So
it was fun to watch people being forced to use it.
Yes,
and then everyone caught on, and they're like, "Oh, why are we doing it this other way?"
This was so hard before.
Yeah.
So, well, I'm Dan Henson. This is Marius Mokan, and we're realtors. We have a podcast studio here with Sunbiz Studios, and we're excited to have you here. And really wanted to. So we met Ann at a ribbon cutting for John Cannon Homes.
Yes.
So it was really cool because only so many people got invited to that. So we felt kind of honored to kind of be invited to that. And then we met great people like Ann, and she's like, "Well, we need to get together because you need our service. You're talking about clients coming from out of town and from out of the country. We're right up your alley, right? So, what is Currencies Direct, and what do you do?
Okay, you want me to tackle that one?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So Currencies Direct, we do foreign exchange and international transfers. Our business really, and the whole industry really came about where customers, clients, businesses were looking for services that traditional banks don't offer when it comes to moving money around the world. They were looking for alternatives because the banking system doesn't really communicate too well cross-border, and their service is very clumsy and quite costly. So customers were looking for alternatives to move funds around the globe,
right?
And that's where we fit in or fill in. So to answer your question, in a nutshell, foreign exchange and international transfers, global payments.
Now, are you limited to specific continents or countries, or is it just anybody can work with you? Who's your ideal client in a sense?
Yep. So last year we traded in 45 different currencies. A lot of it can be currency specific as opposed to a geographical region. There are some places, unfortunately, that we aren't able to service customers from, but the majority of areas we can. Some of the ones that we're not able to would be currently Russia, China, some places within the Middle East, what one would consider a high-risk jurisdiction
Sure.
is something we're not able to help with, but the majority of other areas of the globe we can.
Now, is that really based on we try not to get too political here. Some podcasts go crazy on political, but things that drive what's good for our country. I think so. Is it? Are you kind of told by the government like we can or we can't, or is it a company choice by risk?
It isn't necessarily a company choice. It's more of our banking partners that we utilize and what choices they've may have been forced to make or have made. Okay. So it isn't necessarily a company choice. There are several organizations like ours that have the same restrictions in some of the areas. A lot of the Main Street banks have the same restrictions in those areas. So it isn't like a company policy of why we wouldn't do certain things. It's more to satisfy our banking partners, our compliance teams, as well as the regulation that we're held to.
Right. Okay.
I do want to add something. So,
Yeah, sure, sure.
So we are we've been established in 1996 in over 4 continents, in 25 offices around the world, globally. And so that's kind of like what I wanted to add to, how long we've been around. In Orlando, we've been established since 11 years.
In Orlando? Mm-hmm. Okay.
In the U.S. market.
You have something?
Perfect. So, why do you guys communicate with realtors? What's the message you want to give to realtors? I know that you're a licensed agent like us, and does this sort of fill a need for your clients in order to help achieve their goals? Is that why you've gotten with Currency Direct, or?
Well, and also to tag on that, you just mentioned you had a big meeting with the Michael Saunders group,
yes,
and you can kind of run that together
yes.
on that. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yesterday we had a great meeting with the Michael Saunders, 3 offices actually, Anna Maria Island, Lombok Key, and Siesta Key, as well as downtown. So brokers really paid attention to us because the need is really there to cater to international clients and closings that are actually underserved right now because the banking system that makes it more difficult to move money around globally. And we're actually specializing in the real estate industry, helping to mitigate that problem and streamlining the whole process, plus saving clients money.
Going on that, can you give me like an example why, like if I'm a realtor, right, and I'm calling you, it's like, okay, these folks are moving in from Canada, what can you do to help me? I mean, because I do have a problem. I just had a gentleman move 2 businesses and his family here, and the money is an issue. So how is your company help that process? I mean, I guess.
Yeah, I can take that one.
Yeah.
There's numerous things, and through that process, it can be a bit of a nerve-wracking process for a customer who needs to I need to send money to this place. I need to send money to this title company. I need to send funds to this bank account. It can get a little nerve-wracking for them. So what typically happens, and let's just say a real estate transaction, is a real estate agent's negotiated a great deal for their international client. Okay, we have a contract in place now. You need to get a deposit over, a couple grand,
yep.
$5,000, $10,000 over pretty quickly.
Yeah, 3 days. Yeah.
So the title company, in most circumstances, sends the client some banking instructions, and then the client looks at it and goes, okay, now how do I do this in 3 days?
Yeah.
So what they run into with traditional banks is they run into extremely high margins or fees and not true foreign exchange rates. So typically a U.S. or a bank, a global bank, if they're sending funds in for a property closing, will tack on anywhere from between 2 to 5%, depending on what the bank is, which bank it is, on top of what the true foreign exchange rate is.
Oh, wow.
So clients don't really know that until it comes time to send the money, and they go, oh, wow, the exchange rate really wasn't what we thought it was.
And they're kind of forced to do it. They're just like, well, okay, I guess I'm here,
Yeah, they're forced to do it. And then subsequent to that, usually, 30 days, 45 days, if it's a resale or a new build, what have you, they'll have tranches of payment or one larger payment to send. And that one can really sting if it's, $300,000, $700,000, $1 million. When you're talking about 3 to 4% savings, it's 30, 40 grand that clients are potentially leaving on the table, and that's just on the conversion. So that's from the client's perspective.
Right.
Your question was kind of from the realtors or real estate perspective.
Right.
And our service is very concierge style. It's almost like, okay, you're going to receive these wiring instructions from the title company. Currencies Direct is going to help you get those funds where they need to go in the most cost-effective way. So we'll reach out to the customer, make sure that they're getting the service that they need, the true exchange rate, as well as any further guidance. They like talking to us. Sometimes it's the first time they've ever sent funds overseas and they're a little nervous about it. So we guide them along that process, make sure they're getting the best rates of exchange. All the fraud protection layers are there as well. The industry, the real estate industry at whole, is very nervous about fraud. It's rampant.
Oh, huge.
So, us confirming beneficiary details with them. Oh, we know funds need to go to XYZ title company. We'll get it there for you. All of that stuff, kind of reaffirming that. So the real estate community really enjoys our services, just for, the feedback we can give to them. Your client said this, he's going to have the funds here on this day. We'll be well within the closing time period, et cetera. Great. We kind of take some of those questions off of the real estate agent that the client may ask them that they might not have the knowledge of. So we're kind of stepping in and filling that void.
Yeah, and I think that's important because, as realtors, we're not attorneys. We can just kind of suggest and connect them to right people for that. And, I wouldn't dare step in your line of work and try to say, well, I know this because, obviously they're like, well, you told me I could do this. And like they lose $8,000 because they didn't have the right exchange. So it's great having a partner like yourself. We can just say, hey, call these folks over here. They're going to help you figure all that out, and then, hopefully you'll feel comfortable because if not, you can go to your bank and then compare. But, obviously with having a concierge service like that, it's, for realtors, I didn't even think about this the whole time. And I have two people from Canada, right? And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You're kind of out of that game with them because you really don't understand it. So, and I think
we're in a very unique market anyways, in a very unique space. People don't think that way because we haven't been as global as we should be.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Florida really has the biggest, it's a sunshine state. A lot of people are flocking to Florida. This is where the investors will come to. And those questions will be much more important to answer, and educating the real estate industry on different options. I think it's in the benefit of the client.
Well, and then now is Florida a high desire? Are you looking at real estate as one of your big parts of what you guys do? There's obviously all the services with currency changing, but is real estate like 10% of your business, or as far as helping people, is it a lot of real estate?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we do this globally, and so we've got offices. We've got 20 plus offices all around the globe, and I would say probably 40 to 45% of customers that we help have been introduced to us by either a real estate agent or an immigration lawyer, a international CPA tax advisor, an international financial advisor, all of those professional services. I would say real estate's probably one of the larger of those verticals.
Okay.
But it is a big component of what we do. The rest of the business, or the rest of the customers that come to us, are either from our own marketing campaigns, Google search, SEO, all that other stuff.
Yeah, I can see.
But
real
it's a big
estate.
vertical for us.
Yeah, I can see real estate being a big thing because it's such large chunks of money. It's not just like, hey, I got to send like $3,000 over. It's $500,000. So it adds up pretty quick.
What I was going to add to what you just said is that my uncle's an immigration lawyer, pretty big. He owns a huge firm in Georgia. So I'll definitely be sending this information onto him as well, because he's got people that are, that don't know about all these moving parts when it comes to moving money over here and whatnot. But how can you save money when transferring their currencies for real estate transactions? I think you kind of covered that a little bit, but
yeah, I can elaborate on it further if you'd like.
I think that's kind of where our main area of interest is with this.
Showing the value, right? You're showing a value. It's like, this is why you're using this, and everybody wants to save money, right?
Exactly. Right. At the end of the day.
So there's a few ways. Right off the bat, we don't have any type of transfer fees at all, and typically for a foreign or international wire, there's usually a $50 or $60 or $70 international transfer fee. So we don't have any of those fees. And a lot of times that's where the client thinks that the money is made in the transfer fee, and it's really not. It's more in the conversion rate of what the client is getting. So in a sense, we're operating as, you can look at it as wholesale currency because of the volumes that we do, and we're allowing customers and clients to use the rates that we're purchasing at. So typically it can be, 2, 3, 4, sometimes 5% better than they're getting from banks. And that adds up quite a bit. Particularly, like you said, with larger transfers, it can add up. It's not uncommon for us to save a customer $5, $10, $20, $30, $40,000.
Wow,
that's great.
Just on the conversion rate.
Right.
So where we go further with savings, et cetera, is with services that banks don't offer. So, for example, if a customer was, let's just say they were moving here or buying property and they're German and they're seeing the euro US dollar rate at 108.70, where it might be today, they might go, you know what, Brian, I really like where that rate is, but I would like to see if we can get 111 or 112. I've got a little bit of time to play with. My property contract isn't due until another 20 days where I need to send the full amount of funds. Can we work with that? Yeah, we can. We can, a few things. We can set an order out there for the customer at a particular rate that's not available on the market. And when that rate becomes available, we can notify the customer or actually convert at that rate. If the customer would like, a lot of questions we ask, well, what's the exchange rate going to do during that time period? We can have some good insight, give them the probabilities of things that may happen over that time period. We might say, you know what, don't convert today. Let's revisit this next week, the following week. It looks like the rate might get a little better for you, and we'll go ahead and convert your currency at that time as opposed to today.
Wow.
So there's another element of savings within there. The alternative is closing day comes, customer uses his bank, and whatever rate that day that bank's offering is what he's
That's what
stuck.
you're
So
getting.
there's a lot of areas in there where we can offer more in terms of savings than just the conversion price. So
Okay, so like the biggest piece of advice we can give them is, send them to you as early as possible, and you guys can look at what the rates are like, and you can kind of determine, okay, you've got 30 days. We can play around with the numbers and kind of see what happens, because sometimes waiting one day could be a lot of savings.
it could be it can be, and each client's really different. Some might want to wait and let's see if the rate will get a little bit better for me. Some of them don't want any type of risk at all, and they know where the rate is now. They'll go and say, let's just convert today, because I don't know what's going to happen. I like the price I bought the property at. I like where the euro US dollar rate is. Let's just get this going now. We can purchase dollars for them then, and then on closing day, we can go ahead and release dollars at that time. So each client has different, and we really gauge on what they want to do and just kind of offer them different tools and different avenues to accomplish.
Do you know what this reminds me of? Locking in your interest rate. You know what I mean? It kind of reminds me of that, because it's like you're playing a game, right? You could, if you don't lock today, it could go up tomorrow or it could go down, but you don't know. And I've seen people, because I was in lending myself, and I would see people playing that game, and they would always ask me to tell them, but I'm like, that's not my place, because I don't have a crystal ball.
Can't time the market.
I can't time the market, right? But I've seen people like really miss out on a great rate just overnight,
And they're and usually as long as they know with what the risks are, and they do when they make those decisions more often than not. But yeah, it's definitely like locking, and this is the same exact thing, but with foreign exchange rates. We've got an offering for customers where they can lock into a rate for up to 2 years. So if a customer really likes where the exchange rate is, he hasn't quite found the property that he's looking for, very confident that they're going to be making that purchase in the future, we can lock into a rate for them today and honor that for a period of time. And we can go over that and explain how that works to the customer or client. Probably isn't we haven't been seeing too much of that with buyers coming this direction, as some of the foreign currencies have been on the weaker side against the US dollar. But I can remember when I was in the space when, the euro was in the 150s and the pound was in the 180s and 190s, where customers were fully taking advantage of that, going, wow, this is the US dollars on sale. And we want to lock into this rate for a period of time.
Now, is there like a small fee for something like that, like a lock? Like I know, like with mortgages, there's a fee that comes along with the longer the extension, the longer there's a rate, there's a fee.
Sure.
Is that a similar process?
We don't really have any fees for that. We do require a deposit to hold for a customer, and it's 10% of the full amount. It's not a fee. It's just us holding on to that, so that when the time comes, the customer is still going to fulfill what they've wanted to do.
And that'd be based on their plan. You're working on a plan with them at that point.
Right.
I mean, with all points really, because if you're a 30-day close, you're working with them through that whole process, as opposed to like, oh, I need my money tomorrow morning.
Right.
And the good news is, I feel like customers really can make their own decisions on this. So they have a lot more tools to play with, and it's just more customer friendly that a lot of people are not aware of at this point.
So if I was moving from Germany and I was transferring money and I'm working with you, because you would be my liaison, right? I'm working through you, and I'm like, oh, I'm not sure about this. So they're just kind of through the whole transaction with you until they close?
So,
Yeah, good. Yes and no.
Yeah.
So we've got over 500 employees in the office here in Orlando. We've got in Florida, we've got 15 in the office. We've got 10. And there are different positions within our company. We have, as I'm here talking with you today, customers I've been speaking to have been introduced to our dealing team or our account management team, and they're the guys and gals that are sitting in front of the screens all day long watching sterling, pound, Canadian dollar, euro, South African
they're the
rand.
most up to date,
and a lot of the phone calls or email communications kind of get passed through. Although Anne would be watching a lot of the things that are going on, she's constantly out looking for new relationships, et cetera, and doing those things. So if let's just say you were looking for Anne at this moment, and you're like, oh my gosh, the rate's really good, I want to purchase it. We've got a central location for it.
Oh, we're not waiting for her to answer the phone. It's got a team that works with it, and if I'm picking up the phone, it gets sent to the right person, obviously.
Absolutely.
Obviously, I'm not a dealer. I don't want to be a dealer.
Right.
But when clients get introduced to me, I can speak their language, and that's a big key too, because their trust point to normally banks, obviously they go there a lot and they have good relationships to them, but if they really understand how much they would save, it would be just in their best interest to talk to us, and then I can coordinate the whole process of opening up the accounts for them, and move them over to the dealer itself.
And it makes sense. And you said you and your husband, your family's from Germany.
Yes.
Recently?
Yes, we just moved a year and a half ago.
Oh, okay.
And we had the same problem, but my husband is like a stockbroker in a way, and so he understands what uses some tools, but it is like always an important aspect of how do you move money, and I actually really like this option.
Well, and you're helping somebody, right? You feel you're truly helping somebody. Like, I know this is a good way to go. I mean, it's easy to talk about. It's kind of like when in real estate too. Like, I know this process with a builder. I understand this process here, and I know I'm helping you. And we make money, of course, but I still want to make sure that transaction is awesome, because I'd love to have a bite to eat with you guys later, or a glass of wine, or a cup of coffee, and not like, oh guys, how's it going? You don't want that feeling,
Right.
And
you just don't sell anything, because you're just helping.
It truly
helping
helps.
And helping make the best out of the whole situation, because it is very difficult. Like, to sell a house, I mean, the whole process is difficult, and you just don't need to worry about that aspect on top of it.
I'm so glad we met, because this is a side of the world from real estate, and I'm a broker associate, and you think you have a lot of knowledge, and then all of a sudden this pops up, and you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize this is such an issue. I mean, that my clients are going through. I mean, I know that they've been talking like, well, we're trying to get a money transfer, we're trying to do this, but somebody knows the in-depth working parts of that, where I just know that they're trying to transfer money.
Right.
So now this is a great option to say, hey, if you're really struggling, let's reach out and help you, kind of have another option, because they don't know either. I'm
Absolutely.
sure, they're just going through what they've been told by anybody.
Right, and everybody trusts the bank. They're like, well,
Yeah.
I guess that's the only way to go. So the more partners we can have to make a smoother transaction and to save them money, because that could be that could make or break a deal too, because that's a huge cost. So
Yeah, for sure. You said customers will struggle, or you didn't know they were struggling. I mean, I don't want to sit here and say all of them struggle and no one can move money.
Right.
But it can be nerve wracking. And what we usually do is any introduction that we receive, we always give a rate to the customer or client and say check with your bank and see what they're doing, and they usually come back to us and go, you guys are beating them by a handsome amount, so we're going to go with you guys.
And they have they have a team they're working with that they can relate to. Yeah. So
what sort of predictions you guys have for 2024?
Predictions is a tough word. I like to work on probabilities.
You guys got that bowl over there? Crystal ball.
Yeah. I saw the boat over there, so let me just check the wind real quick. I mean, probabilities. I like to kind of stand on as opposed to predictions, so you don't get massive egg on your face when you're incorrect. But I mean, from where we've been. And I'll talk about foreign exchange of what we're looking at there. September last year, it's more evident now that was really kind of the peak of the U.S. dollar in terms of its strength. Okay. At that time, you were looking at the euro was at parity, or the dollar was actually stronger than the euro at that time, which hadn't happened in 40 years. Wow. You had the pound sterling at 104, 105, which was a really, really weak period for it. And a lot of it was due to the U.S. dollar strength. The Canadian dollar as well was weak. Basically, anything not U.S. dollar related was pretty weak in terms of its purchasing power. That's changed. So like today we're approaching 109, 110 on the euro, 125, 126-ish on the pound. So we're looking for that to continue, where the dollar will weaken a lot of the foreign currencies, and anything anti-dollar, I'll call it anti-U.S. dollar, where it's is going to continue to rally. There may be an event coming where the dollar has a bit of strength and some of these pull back nicely, but we're not forecasting the levels that we saw last September, where the foreign currencies were very weak. But that's kind of what we're looking at through the remainder of 2023 is the U.S. dollar weakening a bit further. Nothing crazy, nothing dramatic. I know there's
not falling out or anything, but
I know there's a lot of crazy, not crazy, but a lot of things happening to where people are talking about de-dollarization, things of that nature. Yeah. We're not forecasting that this year, but definitely some further weakness in the U.S. dollar. Bodes well for international customers that are going to be buying property here.
Right.
It makes their purchasing power
a little bit better,
a little bit stronger, and I mean they've been used to strong buying power for quite some time, and that really changed on its head the past couple of years. But it looks like we're going to be getting that older environment where the foreign currencies are buying a lot more now.
Well, and as that dollar weakens, in your eyes, does that make real estate even more valuable here for them to move in and grab, because they're bringing? I mean, they're getting more bang for the buck when they come in, right? I mean, with their money.
Correct. That's just it. Yeah. They're getting more bang for their buck. The dollar. I mean, some of the time periods where I've seen the U.S. dollar really weak. I mean, the amount of foreign buyers that were coming in, knowing that. A lot of the Canadians, a lot of the Brits, a lot of the Europeans going, wow, I mean, why wouldn't I buy this here? It's really inexpensive. We haven't had that type of level of exchange rates. It looks like it's maybe coming back or heading in that direction. But conversely, to talk about kind of the flip side of that, we've worked with a lot of customers that have foreign customers that have sold property that was dollar denominated in the States, whether it be in Florida, wherever it was in the U.S., a lot in Florida, where they've made just a killing on the capital appreciation of the property. I'm talking people that bought 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago. Yeah. They are converting back at their currency back and making a handsome amount on that as well. So it's almost like they've timed it right that way, and they've kind of timed it right back the other way. So there's another component that moves more than just the capital appreciation of the property when you're dealing globally, and that it's still a strong trend. But the past 4 or 5 years, it's been a lot of British customers, European customers, Canadian customers selling one of their U.S. assets and moving some of those funds back, and and gaining that price appreciation as well as the foreign exchange appreciation.
Do you have to work and just listen? Do you go through that? And me being an investor and buying property, and you might not know this, it might be a tax question. I mean, do they suffer that like capital gains like everybody else does? Like they're moving it out of the country. Is that a fee that comes through you guys, or they just deal with their transaction with that? I mean, is that something you guys mess with, or it has nothing to do with you?
Good. We don't do any of the calculations or give any guidance and advice on that. We do the transaction, and customers have, and because there's so many setups that if they've done things individually in a business, in a corporation, and there's all these different
CPA.
things. So we let them rely on there, and a lot of them will have straddling accountants that know both sides, or they'll have one in each place. The only time we really get into things is if it's a seller and there's FERPTA involved. We do receive FERPTA funds for them. We don't do any of that type of work, but in terms of we see a lot of tax withholding and stuff like that for customers, and when those funds come available, we have those sent back to wherever they would want to go. That's someone who had sold a property and is subject to FERPTA, but we don't really dive into too much on their tax situation.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if say they're working with you, and it sounds like that there's some savvy people that probably use your services that, I mean, I don't know enough about buying and selling currency, but is that some people get into that's all they do is buy and sell currency for the margins? Or is that anything to do with your business?
Yeah, good, really good question. There are better platforms for that. I mean, our platform and our organization isn't really about speculating in the foreign exchange market. It's more of a customer has a need. They need to have funds sent to a certain place or certain area, or they need to receive funds in that currency, and that's where we come into play. Right. There are much better brokerage type platforms to speculate on foreign. A good investor wouldn't use our platform to do that. Not that you couldn't. We don't encourage it, but it isn't.
Yeah, we don't want to send people to say, "Oh, I got this guy. You got to call." They do this amazing, and they call them like,
Bitcoin.
What
or something.
are you doing? What do you send me this guy for?
Yeah, so, our specialty is more in global banking and in terms of how banking systems are and how they work in various places and connecting
and
it all.
how to get it here and get it out.
Yeah.
Recently, we had, I just wanted to add, because we talked about global migration, etc. in Florida. There was an article that just came out, also in the Florida Realtors article, indicating that there is about a 20% uptick in foreign investments from 2021 to 2022. And the biggest group out of those are South Americans. And one of the strongest groups within that is like the Brazilians, followed by the Canadians and by Europeans, and then some Asians after that. So you could see that there is like a definite need for that, to see that the world becomes more global.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's interesting that you said that, because I mean, I do a lot of Canadian folks. I haven't done a lot of South America, and I know he does some European stuff, and we look at the West Coast as foreign because everybody's coming from over the West Coast for us, and not to get too political, but a lot of people are moving to Florida. Now, your services are nationwide. Okay, so it's not just like Florida. I mean, even though we're here in Florida, but you guys can work anywhere. If they're calling you and say, "Hey, we're moving to Wyoming, but we need a transfer," we're just still
absolutely. We've so there's as long as there's a foreign exchange need, we can certainly help.
Right.
We do. I mean, we've got reps all over the country. Several in California and Texas. I mean, you'll find us where there are kind of hot spots of foreign activity going on.
Sure.
Sarasota, Naples, Orlando.
Yeah, definitely.
But yes.
One biggest element of it is the U.S. Released the restriction of mandate vaccination coming into the country. So a lot of people held off of that. So we're really thinking there's going to be a lot more demand. Yeah,
and even in this area, talking a little bit about real estate, because we're in it every day, is, everybody's always talking about, oh, it's crashing. But here in this, and even like just Sarasota, Bradenton, Lakewood Ranch, Naples, Cape Coral, there's a lot of people coming just because they were already going to retire anyway. If you're 60, 65, 70, and you've had, you've kind of been planning on moving to Florida, that plan is still in place, So, we do have some people that are on our books that are like, hey, we're waiting for rates to drop, but like anything else, you can't time it, but the value is still here, and it's they get more incentives on new construction, and but we just did a property that was under $500,000. It was a multiple offer. We had 5 bids on a place in 48 hours. If it's under $500,000 here in Sarasota, so I think the people were coming here, and I think that having a service like yours that I didn't even know existed until we met over at John's is going to be a great thing for us, because now we just help somebody else in another way. Add it to our team and say, well, we have a person that can take care of this, or a team that can take care of this. Yeah. You need to talk to them, because I'm not an expert, but I know somebody that is. So we're real excited. I'm thankful you came in from Orlando. Hopefully you get other business here and you get to go to the beach or something.
Yeah, we've ran around St. Armand's Circle a little. I've been to Sarasota many times. Okay. I'm a Florida native, and I keep the next leg of the trips down to Naples. We'll be at the. We've got another colleague down in Naples, and then we'll be at their neighbor. We're one of the affiliates down there, and they have their expo that's taking place.
Yep.
But yeah, St. Armand's. Really nice.
Yeah.
Really nice as always. It's been a bit since I've been down here though. And I've always enjoyed coming.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
you meet everybody at St. Armand's Circle. I know, because 33,000 people come through.
That's amazing.
there. It's like anybody from the Midwest to Europe and South America, they're all coming through there.
Oh yeah.
Hotspot.
So you're going to be our local contact, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Are you going to be our concierge?
Yes, I will be the concierge. I know how to manage stuff.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll try it out.
Well, was there any last thoughts, or what's some other things we need to know about this? Because I'm totally blown. I got to take notes later.
Well,
I go around and write down how to implement this in my team now.
I want to add a couple more things.
We'd love it.
One of the things is that we actually won the last 3 consecutive years the best FX Money Award. And so that's really something that kind of underlines that we're actually we know what we're doing. And the other thing is that we have a trust pilot of a 5-star rating of Trustpilot reviews, which is also a positive aspect.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mars, you got anything else?
Yeah. So, okay. So, for example, like a more practical application. Yeah, you've got real estate. Massive transaction. But what about the folks that are just sort of like the Western Union customer? Like, is there anything there that would provide value? They're sending money to family. Being that I'm Romanian, there's a lot of crazy stuff happening as far as like charities sending money into Romania to eventually deploy funds into like Ukraine to like help them get out of there or whatever is needed. Like just your $5,000 gift, or whatever.
So the space, a lot of it, and particularly Americans, in terms of this foreign exchange space, they don't realize how big and how vast it actually is. There are a lot of companies that have all of their little niches within that space. For us, as long as there's a destination account to send it to, we do bank-to-bank type transfers. So as long as there's a destination account to send it to,
like a wire,
correct, or a bank. Then a customer can get the funds. A lot of Western Union, like quick money type things, are come to a Western Union and pick up the cash that someone has sent to us. We don't offer any of those types of services. As long as there's a destination account that belongs to either the client or someone, we can send funds there. So that just point right there, that differentiates between a lot of different organizations. But in terms of nonprofit organizations, NGOs, efforts that are sent out for those types of projects or programs, we do work with a lot of them with their foreign exchange needs. The interesting thing, and not saying that area of the world is this, but a lot of those organizations really try to reach very deep into like almost non-banking type places where it's like, we want to help you, but we need to know where to be able to send, these funds. And they're like, well, there's no there's no banking infrastructure over there. And that's where they're needed most. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but yeah, there's a lot of good services that if there isn't an end account there to be able to send stuff to, they could use. But for us, it's there needs to be an end account to be able to send to.
That's interesting. I never think about that. I mean, you're dealing with it, so. What else we got?
I have something else.
I'm sure you do. As we get going here.
When in doubt, Anna's got.
Yes.
I got something else.
No, that's great. No, and it's awesome.
No, I mean, like in terms of the security of the funds of customers. But I'm going to turn that over to Brian now because I think he can explain.
Well,
that
and obviously you guys talk about this a lot, right? And you're in the field, so as these things come up, like just like this. So
because
security is such a big thing.
Yeah. So customers they're all really concerned about with the banking system recently, so maybe that's a good point to make.
Yeah, sure. So and it actually it's coming up a lot more lately with some of the regional bank failures and things of that nature, or people are they've learned and know a lot more about FDIC insurance and all of these various things because it's kind of a factor to them that's now crossed their mind that they've never really thought of before. But in terms of how we handle money and our customer funds, we have a lot of banking partners, and clients' funds never leave the banking system. It's not like there's a period of time where any of our client funds that are in segregated accounts come onto our Currencies Direct ledger or we use for working capital. If something were to happen to Currencies Direct and they went out of business for some reason, all of the customer funds are still held with our partner banks.
Okay.
Okay, so you guys aren't like, for that 10% down where you're locking in sort of today's rate for 2 years or whatever. You guys aren't taking that money and making sort of investments in order to make more money for the company or whatever.
That's a different thing.
Well, we don't have a
good point, though.
Hey,
Good point.
you've heard of Starbucks becoming like one of the bigger banks now because of their little cards,
Yeah.
Their little cards. They've got like millions of dollars that they have access to because they make you load up this card, and a lot of it's like a gift card, right? Like a lot of people don't think about it, and it's like the money sits there, right?
right.
These are questions that people have, I'm sure.
Yeah. I'm not trying. I'm not trying
the industry calls it in the financial services industry. They call it proprietary trading or prop trading,
right?
Meaning that your funds are here. We're going to utilize it for something else. Don't worry, your funds are still there, or we're good for it.
Right.
Let's see what we can do over here. Yeah, we don't. And that's regulatory for our industry. We don't do any type of proprietary trading, but the funds stay in segregated accounts for all of our clients. And one of the interesting things that's come up more and more and more, the full value of our client accounts are insured. So there isn't, and that's across all currencies. And that's across different jurisdictions. So it's awesome. It's come up quite a bit lately, and for obvious reasons with some of the banking failures, and so whether it's the Eurozone or the UK, which is FCA regulated here, it's FinCEN in the US. They have their own kind of measures that they like for our types of companies. But it's interesting that I say it that ours is actually more safe than a lot of banks that are out there that are only offering FDIC insurance.
Right. And so 100 euros, you're good for 100 euros. Anything happens with the transfer, somebody hits the wrong account number, whatever that may be.
Yeah, really. So a lot of funds that get lost usually happen because of fraud. Mm-hmm. We can always if something were to happen, we can always retrace wires. We can always pull when things never leave the banking system. You always know where they are, and you can, if there was a mistake, you can always draw things back. But those are all insured. The only time people ever really get into trouble or companies get into trouble is when there's fraud or there's a hack of some kind. And our state-of-the-art systems, I'm not going to say that we don't have people attempting to hack us constantly. Of course. But is the best in the industry or best in the business for that. But it's been an interesting topic lately. I mean, it's come up quite a bit on. I guess the public is really they've had to ask themselves, okay, I need to spread my money out between various banks to
Well,
cover
and I think
things.
with like we were talking earlier, the expansion of technology moving so quickly, and AI, like with ChatGPT, is that right?
Yeah.
ChatGPT?
There's a P in there. I learned
We
that
use
the
it
other
every
day.
day.
Yeah, my wife corrected me the other day, but
I gave in. I actually downloaded mine and I've used it.
We're using it
I
too.
gave into the revolution a couple weeks ago.
yeah, we're using it too.
I was fighting it, but I was like, you know what?
You got to
It's-
know
it's
it,
good.
right?
Right. It's like
And-
TikTok eventually finds its way on your phone,
Yes, and but I think that the conscious of just there's so many moving parts and security frauds. I mean, I've seen it happen in the real estate business, and I always it never happened to one of my clients, but I saw it happen to another agent's client.
Even a broker got
got
tricked.
And then so that's why I say just always reach out to the person you're working with and make sure it's confirm the email, because they just change it by one letter and then bam, it goes somewhere else.
Right.
So that's what's nice about having a service. You guys are confident in your security systems. You're confident in your process. So as long as they're communicating with you, I mean, they should feel pretty comfortable with what's going on.
We have double compliance. I mean, we have so much compliance. I have to take classes all the time.
Nice.
And I don't even deal.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, no, it's quite extensive.
Well, that's awesome. Are you staying in town for a little bit, or you got to drive back and deal with I-4?
I'm headed to Naples after
that's right.
this evening.
You mentioned
I booked a room this morning there. I always do things last minute because
Yeah.
I never book ahead, just in case I need to stay. an additional
Hotels
night
tonight.
there.
What's the deal?
Talking about that, do you guys have a website where people can
Yeah.
shop the rate or just sort of keep an eye on it, right? Because you don't want, if someone's like needing in that 30 days to like send the money, instead of calling Anna every 2 days or whatever, can they go online and sort of like see what's
Yeah. So I failed to mention, very important things.
Yeah.
Online platform
yeah.
that is fully, a customer can do everything they could possibly want to do on there in terms of looking at the rates, make transfers, any of that. We do have an app as well where they can view rates at any time. All of it kind of comes with a platform that a customer would have to set up. And that's a very quick and easy process. It's a digital process. It'll ask for their name, where they live, their date of birth, things of that nature. Mm-hmm. We usually don't need any type of documentation to verify a customer. We have global systems that so for someone, let's just say in the UK or someone in Canada or South Africa, they can plug in their details, and quite often their account just opens without any further information that we would need in real time. So you can get quotes quickly if you'd like.
Is there like a dashboard for like, I want to keep an eye on the euro and the Canadian dollar or whatever?
You can do things. You can set rate watch orders in there if you like, or rate alerts is what we call them as well.
Oh, okay.
A lot we try to interact as much as we can with our client. I mean, some people are just web only, don't talk
Sure.
to me.
Yeah.
Well, others want, when it's a larger transaction, they definitely want a lot of communication.
The peace of mind we're talking about.
Yeah, so we can handle all types. So
And that was going to my next question. Since you brought up the website, I was actually on there this morning looking around, and I thought it was really cool. You have a spot that says news, and you see what's like happening. You see articles and things that are coming from your company, like this is happening today, this happened last week, and is it now? If you go online and we're sensitive as realtors about this because when you take somebody to a new builder, they want to make sure they got the realtor's information, or you can't help them, right? They're just stuck on their own if they go with the builder without you.
Right.
So same kind of thing. If they go to this site and they register, and they kind of getting a feel for who you guys are, can they still work with Ann? Because the thing is if one of my clients goes to the builder website and register, you're done. You can't
Right.
work with them anymore. And I mean, I was a little selfish, and it's come from realtors some realtors doing shady things where they just like, oh, you already signed, throw my name on there. And I see what the builders are trying to do.
Right.
But in this sense is, they're probably going to check you out a little bit, figure out what's going on. But then, I want my client to talk to Ann because I feel comfortable with that handoff, and I want to make sure that they know that at least they're talking to somebody. Is there a difference if they go on that site without, or they can still work with Ann?
They can certainly work with Ann at any time.
Okay.
What we usually recommend to realtors when they're going to introduce a client copy in on an email with the
Perfect.
with
And
the
it's the
client.
name.
And even if they've already gone on to open their account and they've, hey, you know what, I took your advice and I opened the account with Currencies Direct, you can still copy them on an email to Ann, and Ann will jump in.
Perfect.
Or just let us know who
And
they
that's
are.
and that's kind of
Ann
where I
will
was
jump
going,
in
because
at any time.
we
Yeah.
want that handoff service,
Right.
because, you know, as we work with clients, you know, we work with certain attorneys and closing title companies and lenders. And I never want anybody to pay me anything, because, you know, I always wanted to say, hey, if they're part of my team because they just do a really good job.
Right.
You know, and I just prefer that, you know. So if that lender's great, all I need is that my client's happy or my customer is happy.
know.
That's all I need, because I don't need to pay for flyers and anything like that. So I feel, since we've met how we have, as soon as somebody's asked me about this stuff, I'm just transferring it over to you guys, because, you know, I'm not going to say anything that I, you know, have no knowledge of. I just know they're good at it, and the questions you have need to be answered by them.
Right.
So that's important to our team. And we have a team of 6 agents here, so we want to make sure maybe we'll, you know, all have a meeting one day, but we're not quite as big as Michael Saunders with, like, you know,
Yeah.
hundreds of agents in here, but, you know, but we'll make sure everybody understands.
But
and
we
knows
like
what's going
you.
on. But we like you. Okay. Well, we'll offer a nice lunch, you know, over at, you know, Gecko's or something like that. We'll go have a
Taco
nice
Bell.
lunch. Taco, yeah.
Taco Bell.
Yeah, there you go. Well, he's
I've never. I
No,
don't eat. No.
no.
He's
No.
very picky about food, but he
No.
loves his food truck up here, and he's like the
Oh.
burrito. He's literally parks his car.
The
and
mom and pop
and-
shop.
and they have it like waiting for him. You know, he doesn't even call
They
ahead.
see my
you know?
car. They see me pulling it,
It's
and they
just
already have it
crazy.
ready to go. They're like a family-owned little place.
That's
like,
nice.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do they bill you monthly or every
I know,
time?
it's like I have a
you have
tab.
a running tab?
That's a good one.
They don't charge me sales tax.
That's
They
so
ta-
fun.
they deduct the
They
sales tax.
straight away. You know,
But I do want to add something else. You probably wanted to know how much money you can possibly send at one
that would be
transaction,
important.
in one transaction. I'm turning it over.
There's a dollar figure.
Oh,
No.
we don't. I mean, there aren't really any limits to the upside. If things start getting to, you know, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 million,
Wow.
we may have to get some documentation and just kind of, you know, verify a few things. But there aren't any limits to what a customer.
I surely hope I
use
can
to
send
us.
somebody that's going to need that money transferred. Limit low. Is there a limit low?
We don't, and the reason we don't is because a lot of our clients, they've done a real estate transaction with us, and they're like, you know what, I've got a child going to school in Hong Kong. I need to send them some
10
money.
10 grand
you
or
know,
5 grand.
We'll do, you know, as low as need be, $200, $300
Right.
dollars.
Right.
Or, you know, so we don't really shut that off on the low end. But
Builds loyalty though.
yeah,
Yeah.
it does.
And you
Though
can
they're
al-
going to look for another place to do it, and we'd rather do it for
Yeah.
our
Even though it's like nothing gained for you, but
Yeah.
And even customers can always try us out. Sometimes they just don't trust the whole aspect.
The whole process.
So they'll
yeah.
send
the
a dollar
process.
to see.
And they just go $100 or $1,000. How is the process?
That makes
And
sense.
Just
That makes
get to know
sense.
us. Get to
Right.
know us. Try your good luck and stay with us.
If I was to go with my family to Ireland next
Mm-hmm.
year and stuff, so that's the best way to do it. I mean, would I call you and say, hey, I need to take my money to Ireland, or do I need to like be moving there or something? I mean,
No.
just
Yeah.
like I don't know, right? I'm going to Ireland, so what do I do? Do I
long
just
as-
go there and transfer when I walk off, the plane,
Yeah,
or
what's
what?
the best? What's the best?
Yeah,
deal?
as long as we have a destination account to send to, you might not. We can send to a friend if you're meeting someone there, and
Gotcha.
they can withdraw the cash for you.
Perfect.
But in terms of a physical cash service, we don't have.
Don't do that.
We don't offer that.
Right.
We are soon bringing a debit card to go along with the actual accounts for U.S. based customers.
Mm-hmm.
We have that currently for UK customers, European customers, and a few other areas where you actually have a debit card tied to the account. So in your case, if you were going to Ireland, you could just go ahead and purchase euros to us on the account, and then have a debit card that you could swipe
Okay.
euros in or pull euro cash out of in Ireland.
Okay.
But that one's still in beta testing.
Okay.
But
Soon to
so
come.
by next year when you go,
Exactly.
we'll get you sorted any which way.
soon
is it like
Yeah.
a prepaid, loaded up with cash?
It
and
is.
go?
It's a prepaid card.
Got
is
it.
what it is.
And does it charge you when you're loading it up, like the exchange rate?
It will. You can do it any which way you want to. So if you wanted to pre-purchase the euros, let's say you were going to Europe, you could do so and then utilize the euros as you see fit through that card. So the rate has already been converted. let's just say you had dollars in your account and you started swiping in a jurisdiction that was in euros, it would just take that day's wherever the market was at that moment, our exchange rate, and convert for you. So that way your card won't like decline or anything because you don't have any euros in your balance. So probably the best way if you wanted to manage it or control it would be to purchase euros up front within your Currencies Direct account and then swipe in euro.
That way you're not thinking about it. It's already been done.
It's already been done, right?
What balance is there is what you got to spend. Got it. And
You know what? I dislike nothing else more than going to Europe and take my American bank account and my credit card, and every time I do a transaction, it's $3, $4, $2. It's crazy. It's like, why would you give that money away? It's
Right.
like, if you're spending a good amount of time there, you
That's what I
really
meant.
want to be
Yeah.
aware of that.
That's what I meant because I've been a big Wells Fargo customer for years and years and years because they're just convenient. They're
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
But it just drives me nuts. You go and you spend your money and it's just like the fees are just crazy.
Right.
Yeah, there are a lot of credit cards out there. I mean, I guess one of the main things that we expose to a lot of people, when they say no fees, so like there's a lot of credit card companies out there that will say, we don't have any international transaction fees or anything like that, which is fine, which is great, but it's really not where they're making the money. They're making the money on the conversion.
Right.
So when you dive into it and see, okay, wait a second, I bought this purse at this time and the rate was this and that was the rate I got. Great, you didn't get any fees, but the conversion was where they made all their money. Same with bank to bank transfers. Same. So
Like the Fed works with us, how they pay the banks or how the bank gets their money.
yeah, but yeah, that's primarily how we work on the travel side of things.
Well, I've got too much in my head now to learn. So now I had to go back to, all right, let me see this now. How can I help? But I think the easiest way is just make sure they get a hold of you. It's really enlightening because I'm so glad we met because I have a whole different perspective of that now and how to help. Mm-hmm. So I never had that opportunity. I didn't know what to say to anybody.
Well, I think you are the one suggesting this call, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Well, and I appreciate you guys coming in. And now we had no problem saying that you do real estate and and you're helping with foreign exchange. So we make sure you get a hold of anyway if they need your help, especially if they're coming in from Germany because you understand the process so well. Mm-hmm. And who wouldn't want to be in Florida right now? We get a lot of flack, but still awesome. It's a little hot today though.
Yeah.
It's a little hot.
Yes.
Right.
And we were thinking about having a cigar later, and we're like, ooh, it's kind of hot. We got to wait till the sun goes
You gotta
down.
wait
I wore the wrong dress today outside. Here it's good and cool, but
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we look forward to maybe kind of following up on this another time too, as things move forward, and definitely curious about some of the things you guys have in the works. Is AI a part of your company process now? I know that you're just as just single people who are trying to figure it out. It's different, but has your company tackled that in any way? I hate to put you off sync on that.
Yeah, I try to stay out of anything tech, and I have full confidence in those teams. They know what they're doing exceptionally well. I'd be shocked if they haven't.
Right.
But I really try not to open that door in the and look in there.
It's like, I'm not going to talk about foreign exchange money. I'm just going to leave it to you.
Right.
So you're just not going to talk about tech because that's
Yes.
their team.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
probably a bunch of people you never see, you never heard. You just get an email and say, we're doing this now.
Yeah. What we won't ever do, though, and we haven't, and a lot of companies have done this, is basically replace people with humans.
Right.
I'm sitting in your studio right now.
Absolutely.
And Anna's sitting in your studio right now. And clients can speak to customers, or we can speak to customers. We've got teams that can speak to customers. A lot of it's moved to online type stuff and chat boxes and all of that stuff. We'll never fully do that.
Get away.
Fingers crossed we'll never fully do
Yes.
that. But a lot of companies have gone that direction, and it really takes a lot of the human element away. And we're not looking at doing that.
Yeah, I think that's, and a lot of people say that about realtors and mortgage people too, but there still needs, there's still that need of a human connection and trust and just a reassurance that you're making right decisions, especially like people moving to Florida, if I was to move to Colorado, I mean, I know you can ski there and I know it's, a couple things, but what else? Where do I go to do things? What does it cost to live here? What is it, so everybody needs that guidance. And I think that, your field, because you're so personal. I mean, it's their money, it's personal.
It's the biggest investment of their life.
They need to talk to somebody.
It's true, yeah.
And I think with mortgage and currency exchange and real estate, if robots take over, at least I'll probably be dead by that time. So,
well, everybody thought, Zillow and Open Door and all these people are going to take away agents, but it's like, who's there waiting for the client that Open Door sent there?
Yeah,
it's a licensed agent. You can't take that away, and that's never going to go away. That service, the concierge experience. Me buying a house, like through him, sight unseen. I needed to trust him to tell me what's there. Going into do video, hey, show me the bad.
Yeah, the good, the bad, and
the ugly.
Yeah, and ugly.
Exactly,
and
right.
There's
Exactly.
Ugly.
Okay.
And then we did the inspection over the phone, like Zoom or whatever you want, or
home
FaceTime,
inspection.
Yes.
Yep.
and all that stuff.
Which we're doing that Friday too.
Stop
so.
knocking your.
Yep. We're doing that Friday.
So you'll never get rid of that. But if the moment you take away that human touch, and then everybody just feels like they're a number in the system or whatever, then service really takes a nosedive. But that's what we're always looking to do, because we want our people to be treated the way we treat them and the way we take such careful approach to their situation. We're very sensitive to every single person's unique situation.
Right.
And, we always make sure that if we hand them off to anyone, they're going to do the same thing, because it's a reflection of us, like our home inspectors, our title companies that we like to recommend, or lenders or whatever. If that trust is diminished, then we never work with them again.
Right.
And there's just pure negligence. If you just kind of take it over, and there's just nobody to be seen and nobody's responsible. That's the biggest thing. You have to be responsible.
Yeah.
And do what you say you're going to do. I mean, that's why I love building these kind of relationships, because, you could just tell me about your company, but now we know about your company and know who's part of it and who makes it work. I mean, it's so much different than just saying, oh, I met this person, give them a call, maybe they can help you. I can say, oh, call these folks. They're great people. They got this going on. Been in Florida forever, moved in from Germany. I mean, the story that can come along with that introduction is so key, and then building relationships. So, but we really appreciate your time here. I mean, and we're wide open book. If you ever, want to get in here again, we'd love to have you. So
Great.
Thanks for the knowledge that we
Yeah.
got today. It's definitely like drinking from a fire hose, but I feel like I know enough to be dangerous now, enough to be like, all right, go over there.
Yeah, I mean that's the main that's the main thing. Is, we'll get done with a presentation or something, and I can see people, and they're just like
Light bulb, right?
And I was like, all you need to know is when they're foreign and they need to send money, just
give us a
send
call.
us, copy me in on an email. We'll sort it. We'll take care of it.
Yeah.
Yes,
Like, okay,
yes,
right.
yes.
That's all I need to know. But
Yes.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you
you
so
so
much.
much.
We appreciate it too.
Thank you.
Thanks for sticking around to the end. I know this was a lot of information here, but if you have any questions about currency exchange, please feel free to reach out to our friends, Ann and Brian, and I'm sure they'd love to hear from you. If you're thinking about buying or selling a home in the Sarasota area, please give me a call, text, or email. I'd be glad to help.